as well as provide recommendations for other companies and rehab providers seeking to implement a similar process, considering the future of healthcare. The CERT program grew out of a need for change. With the vast number of technology referrals coming our way and the rate of technology development, as well as our desire to improve patient outcomes, we realized that a formal process was needed. Through evaluating various technologies that came our way, we were able to determine their best fit within our organization, which we will touch on in the coming slides. So, who is the CERT team? The CERT team is made up of clinical leaders, rehabilitation administrators, and department executives. And together, we've established a mission to standardize and streamline how we address incoming technology and research requests. Here is a brief outline of the CERT steps, and I will review them in further detail in the coming slides. So step 1 involves an initial CERT review, where the CERT team meets with a vendor with the ultimate goal of determining categorization. We'll go into what those categories are in the coming slides. But in step 2, we have a second review in which we're kind of further refining our goals within each of those categories. And then ultimately in step 3, we come up with a final decision of whether or not we're wishing to pursue that product, whether that be for clinical deployment or through research initiatives. So a little bit more specifically about the CERT review. So within step 1, as I mentioned, the CERT team meets with the vendor with the goal of determining how the product best fits within our institution. So if products are fitting into the category of clinical deployment, it means that we are interested in purchasing the product. This product would be either FDA approved or have some amount of research to support its use. It would have to fit an unmet clinical need and provide the potential for a return on our investment. The innovation category is for products that are also ready to go clinically, but the company is interested in seeking further information about their product. So perhaps product market fit testing or a feasibility study or some amount of research for their product. Ideally, there would be, again, some amount of evidence to support the use of this product as well. But if a product is interested in pursuing specifically research with our company, they would be interested in perhaps like a feasibility study, clinical effectiveness study, a mechanistic study, or perhaps they're interested in pursuing FDA approvals. Both products within the research and innovation categories would require some regulatory elements, such as an NDA contract, a faculty champion and clinical champion established, as well as IRB approvals as necessary. It would also require willingness of the company to provide funding for clinical staff time for various research initiatives. Within the second CERT review, the primary objective is to refine goals within each of these categories. So specifically, if we're looking at clinical deployment, we're wanting to really analyze how this product compares to other products on the market, as well as how does this product already compare with other technology that we already have within our institution. For innovation and research, we're wanting to specifically hone in on exactly what the company is interested in pursuing further. So if they're interested in product feedback, like what exactly are they looking for within that? And then for research, exactly what type of research study, how big of a research study are they looking for? Ultimately, a final decision is made of whether or not we will pursue the product for clinical deployment, innovation, or research, or if we will save it for later, or perhaps we're not interested at this time. So again, for clinical deployment, it would need to fit an unmet need, fit within our budget, and be able to provide return on investment, and we would have a deployment plan in place. If the product is for innovation, again, it would have to fit an unmet need. We would need to establish the type of research that is interested in, as well as create a deployment plan and a research plan. There would also need to be an agreement as well as funding. For purely research, we would want to establish the type of research the company is interested in, develop a research plan, as well as establish a research team and come up with an agreement and a funding with the company. So far, from April 2021 through March of 2023, 67 products have completed the CERT review process. Of those, 42 were categorized into the clinical deployment category, 16 in innovation, and 9 in research. Of those, 17 were ultimately purchased through a clinical deployment plan, 7 were further investigated under an innovation category, and 4 were further investigated under specific research categories. There are, of course, additional ones being added as we continue to grow. So this image here describes how the CERT program first began. So initially, we began by studying how the workflow and CERT evaluation documents would be used and how they best fit. From there, we made design modifications and established a more refined workflow. We then began implementing our present CERT workflow with continual modifications as we continue to analyze our strengths and adapt as we continue to grow. In the coming slides, I will review specifically various examples of products that we categorize into the 3 different buckets of clinical deployment, innovation, and research. I will first begin by reviewing products that fit within the clinical deployment bucket. The first product is the bimanual arm trainer, which you heard about previously. So the bimanual arm trainer is a gamified bimanual upper extremity device that is very engaging because it has a gamified environment and it allows patients to work on external rotation. We adopted this product because of its unique capabilities. It fit an unmet clinical need and fit within our budget, and it also had the potential for return on investment. The C-mill treadmill is another example of a product that fit within the clinical deployment category. This product was also unique in that it provided gamified gait training for patients. So it was very exciting, and it could provide high intensity repetition for gait training because of the gamified environment. And it was also unique in that it provided a body weight support treadmill training, which we didn't have available at all of our clinics at the time. The body weight support training also made it possible to improve patient safety, both for the therapist as well as the patient, and it allowed us to work with lower level patients who we may have otherwise been unable to gait train because of the weight of their limb or difficulty in kind of maneuvering them. So this product specifically, again, fit an unmet clinical need. It had the potential for return on investment and, again, would improve safety for our clinics. So next, we're going to move on to products that fit within the innovation category. So a product that fit within the innovation category is called the Grippable. This device was a hand device that assesses and trains a wide range of arm and hand movements and can work on improving grip strength. This product was also unique in that it was able to be utilized in the home setting, so patients could use it as part of a home exercise program. This company was specifically interested in understanding a little bit more about their product and how they could improve it. And so a feedback plan was initiated and agreement was put in place for an innovation category. Another example of a technology that fit within the innovation category is the MindMotion Go. The MindMotion Go is also something that you guys saw earlier in the inpatient presentation, where it's a gamified neurorehabilitation device that focuses on upper and lower body strengthening, endurance, and balance. This device is also unique in that it can be utilized in the home setting as part of a home exercise program. This product was fit into the innovation category in that it was also studied under a feasibility study in which we were looking specifically at how patients performed over a 6-week period of time and looking at their clinical measures of strength, endurance, gait speed, and balance over time by using the MindMotion Go specifically during a 6-week program. Now we'll move on to the research category. So a product that fit within the research category is a device called, or a company called MedRhythms. So their device was specifically looking at an IMU sensor that was worn on a patient's shoe, in which rhythmic auditory stimulation for gait training was provided, in which they were looking to see, with the hopes of looking to see if it could improve patients' gait speed over time. So this company was specifically interested in seeking FDA approval by using their IMU sensors, and were looking to partner with Johns Hopkins for completion of the FDA approval of their product. Therefore, an agreement was established, a study team was formed, and an IRB was initiated for research. So some facilitators for the CERT program include institutional funding. This is required to allow for time to meet with vendors, review the various products, as well as time to meet with key stakeholders about the various products. Funding from companies for the studies. This is also imperative in order to complete various study initiatives, including the creation of an IRB, creation of a study research team, initiating research goals, creating a protocol timeline, as well as protected time for therapists to complete those study goals. Flexibility from the company on study design. This is based on budget restrictions, as often smaller studies require less time and effort versus larger studies will require more time and effort to establish and create, as well as flexibility from the company to trial devices prior to purchase. Overall, in our experience, this whole CERT process has really enabled us to have better decision-making for incoming technology requests. Some challenges to the CERT program include little guidance available in the literature on the type or amount of research required in order to adopt a product clinically, limited funding from companies, as often smaller companies often have a limited or smaller budget for funding, as well as the time required to meet with vendors, to document our findings, and review the products with key stakeholders, as well as the time is required to create and run a study for research. Recommendations for the CERT program for those who are interested in creating such a program within their institution include creating a dedicated CERT team, including leadership, as leadership support is necessary to drive change, allow for allocated CERT activities, and improve various CERT initiatives. Creating a standardized evaluation process so that each product can be objectively reviewed and documented and referred back to, as well as providing vendors with examples of previous CERT projects. This is so that each time you're meeting with a new company, you're not starting from scratch with each company. So for example, when we meet with a company, we provide them with a clinical innovation package with associated costs so that we're able to have a starting point and not kind of starting from ground zero each time. Next, I'm going to hand it off to Kevin, who's going to talk to you about strategic applications.
All right, thank you. So as Hayley mentioned, I'm Kevin McLaughlin. I'm a physical therapist and a member of the CERT team, and I'm going to be talking about some strategic applications of the CERT process that we are pursuing at Johns Hopkins. So to talk about how we're utilizing the CERT process, we need to consider how rehabilitation is changing in the US and in the world. One of the biggest ways that rehabilitation is evolving are the methods we use to deliver care. For example, telerehabilitation, meaning rehab care delivered remotely outside of the clinic, has expanded greatly since the COVID-19 pandemic began. And now many patients prefer to receive care from home due to the conveniences, efficiency, and privacy associated with telehealth. And as such, we are actively using the CERT process to identify and evaluate new technology that can help us better provide rehabilitation care remotely outside of the clinic. And this technology extends beyond simple video conferencing technology like we're using now. It includes technology like Grippable and MyMotion Go that improve our ability to track patient outcomes outside of the clinic or to gamify the rehab experience to improve patients' experiences overall and make telerehabilitation more engaging. And in addition to televisits, there's now a push for more independent rehabilitation programs that take the form of more self-guided management or guided self-management. There are even new procedural codes now that allow rehabilitation providers to bill for remote therapeutic monitoring, or RTM as we refer to it. And RTM allows patients to perform exercises or other rehab activities independently while clinicians monitor their outcomes remotely. And effective RTM approaches are going to require, or do require, cloud-based treatment platforms, means of asynchronous communication, methods for tracking patient outcomes like pain, disability, or other things like step counts. And many RTM approaches also include the use of equipment or software that provide patients with automated feedback on exercise performance, or that gamify the rehab experience. And the CERT team is actively identifying technology that can be used to deliver RTM, as well as consulting with companies seeking to develop technology relevant to RTM. It's also important to recognize changes in the way that rehabilitation is being paid for. Previously, rehabilitation existed only in a fee-for-service world where providers were compensated for the types and quantities of services they rendered. But more and more, we're seeing movement towards value-based reimbursement models where providers are reimbursed based on patient outcomes as opposed to individual interventions. We're also seeing more bundled payment models that provide standardized payments based on diagnosis rather than the services we provide. And then these changes mean that rehabilitation providers will need to examine ways to improve the way we track patient outcomes, the efficiency with which we deliver care, and ways to maximize our clinical effectiveness. We on the CERT team believe strongly that rehab technology plays an important role in each of these areas, and we are actively evaluating emerging technology that can help us improve our performance in each of these key areas. And lastly, the CERT process does provide the opportunity for non-clinical revenue, kind of switching gears a little bit here. And I've provided just a few examples of these opportunities here. As we mentioned previously, one of the CERT categories is research. And given our interaction with technology vendors, companies interested in research, CERT naturally lends itself towards industry-sponsored research projects, which can assist us in growing our research team and resources. The clinical innovations portion of CERT also lends itself towards consulting opportunities with rehab technology companies, where we can match these companies with experts at Johns Hopkins who can provide feedback on their developing technology. And then lastly, our expertise and knowledge surrounding the rehab technology field puts us in a good position to provide educational opportunities like conferences and courses surrounding this topic. I just wanted to acknowledge a number of people on the CERT team who've helped improve or create the CERT process or have contributed to this presentation. And we thank you for your attention.